Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the show. This evening, my guest will be Mr. Judson Gee. He's the owner of JHG Financial Advisors. How you doing there, Mr. G?
Doing fantastic. Happy holidays to you.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you.
Tell us, okay, you've been an advisor for over 17 years.
That is correct.
Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Well, I started JHG Financial on 9/11 of 2000.
Oh, okay.
And barely made it before the presidential recount there. And decided to go to an independent firm whereby I could exercise that independence in doing the best thing for my client, whether that is an investment vehicle or an insurance product or any other type of financial planning tool that we use. So the independent side really let me kind of exercise that discretion of what would be the best for my client. And I've been doing financial planning since '94 when I graduated from UNCC. Okay. And a neat story centered around that was when I was a senior. I had in my freshman year, I had been in a motorcycle accident, and when there was a lawsuit that came from it, and when I got the judgment, I was advised by my father to invest some money through his financial planner. Okay. And so I took some of that money and I invested it and also gave some to charity, and both worked really well. And so when I was a senior, I took a communications class, speaking class. Yes, sir. And one of the assignments was to do a presentation. And I decided I would do it on a topic that I knew quite a bit about, investing, and investing in particular in tax-free bonds. And the class president happened to be in that course, Paul. And
oh, okay.
So at the end of my presentation, he stopped me on the way out and said, "Gosh, although I don't have any money to invest since we're college kids, if I did, I think I would put some money with you. So you might think about going into that particular industry." And that's kind of how it started.
Okay, you're a very successful business owner. Who inspired you to where you're at right now?
That's a great question, and a really fantastic story behind that. My mother passed away when I was fairly young. Yes, sir. And she had multiple sclerosis, and so my grandmother, G, played a big influence on my upbringing, and she was very instrumental in teaching me a lot of life lessons. Correct. And a really neat story, if I can.
Go ahead, sir.
Is my family helped start a North Carolina company, a very old classical company called Jefferson Pilot, yes, sir. Now part of the Lincoln Financial Group. And my grandfather left a wonderful legacy both for the community as well as for his heirs. Okay. And so my grandmother wanted me to learn about that, about money. I was very lucky I was taught about money at an early age. I think that's something that our school system is a little bit lacking. Correct. These days. And so she lives in Greensboro, where Jefferson Pilot's located. Okay. And my grandfather worked for them back in the Depression. And so when he passed, he had a very good estate plan. Obviously, he had a good financial planner himself. Correct. And so my grandmother said, Judd, I want you to learn about that. So I want to bring down my CPA to teach you some of the things that's going to come. And I'll never forget it, Paul, because I was about 17. I was at West Charlotte High School at that time. Okay. And we went to a very famous Charlotte landmark called the Ranch House out on Wilkinson. Correct. And we went out there and we sat down, my grandmother, my CPA, or her CPA, and, the conversation started like this. He said, "Judson, you're a very lucky young man. And one day you might be a millionaire because of the legacy that your grandfather left you." And of course my eyes opened up very wide. And I said, I'd like to hear more about that. And he said, well, your grandfather thought a lot more about you and the community and his heirs than he did about the IRS.
Correct.
And he wanted to make sure that as much as he could pass on to the community and his people, that he would. And my grandmother broke in at that point in time and said, Judd, I hope Taylor is right. I hope you are a millionaire by the time you reach 30. And I hope that the stock splits as many times over your lifetime as it has over ours. But there's two things that I want you to promise me that you will do. And of course, I was all ears at that point in time. Yes. I said, go right ahead. And she said, Judd, I want you to tithe. I want you to give money to good causes, your church, Habitat for Humanity, which is her favorite organization. Right. And I said, grandmother, you know, I can definitely do that. I will promise you I will. And she said, second, that's easy for you to do because you will be able to write a check. You will be able to give some of your stock as donations. So the second thing is I want you to roll your sleeves up and I want you to go out there and do the hard work. I want you to go down to the soup kitchen, look into the eyes of those people and see what they're going through and understand it. I want you to go out and build that house for those needy folks at Habitat that want to change their life. Sure. And I've done that, and she was right. She told me, Paul, she said, it's going to come back to you tenfold. Don't expect it to be monetary, but it will come back to you in very mysterious ways, and it has. So that got me very interested in giving back, and also taught me about what was to come. And it was a great legacy until 2008, with a lot of financial stocks, of course, got hit.
How does that make you feel, successful as you are, for your grandmother? I mean, she's not here, but she's watching over you and watching you grow every day. How does that make you feel?
I'm very proud of what she taught me and some of the values that she instilled into me. I think that, you know, she is, you know, looking down on me.
She's right here.
Yeah,
looking at,
exactly.
Right,
both mom and grandma.
Correct.
You know, and you know, fantastic, you know, people, and sometimes there's not enough of that, and so I try to instill that into the folks that I surround myself, because I think the legacy that you leave it's not just a name on a building or something of that nature, which is nice. Correct. If you can, but it's really the people that you surround and the lessons that you learn from them and that they learn from you. And so when I speak of those things to my clients, talking about the return that you'll get from doing those things, I think that having that story behind it is very powerful. And so I think she's definitely here with us. And
you're doing a great job, sir.
Thank you.
How important does it feel to yourself to watch your clients increase as far as with their investments within your company?
It's a great thing to be able to be a part of that success. Mm-hmm. You know, when I think maybe some people might think, oh gosh, when a client calls you and says they need to liquidate their account because they're going to send their son or their daughter to Chapel Hill or Duke or somewhere, you know, wherever it might be, that the financial planner might frown, you know, because that's assets under management that we lose. Okay. But I think that for me, it gives me a great feeling of success that I've played a part of getting that child, you know, to have the choice Correct. Of where they want to get their education, you know, not to be stuck with some type of funding that they might have to pay back in the future.
Your charge is to protect your client's blind side. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yes.
Well, I came up with that mantra back in 2009. I was blindsided. I literally was attacked. Someone thought that I was someone that I was not.
Okay.
And I was minding my own business and down at the coast of North Carolina. And 2 weeks later, I woke up in the hospital with tubes coming out of me. I almost died from the wounds that I suffered from that attack. And when I got out of the hospital, Paul, I knew my job was important. Always, I did. But never so much as after that experience, because when I got out of the hospital, at my wife's surging, took a broad look at our financial and estate plan, and I realized that it needs some updating. Even as a financial planner, we needed to update our estate and our financial plan. And I realized that my charge, that I was put here for a reason, and that is to protect my client's blind sides. A lot of people say, well, Judd, what are those blind sides? Well, that could be helping someone not outlive their money in retirement by making sure that they avoid investment pitfalls or that they save enough. It could be an example that I gave you a moment ago about starting funding for educational strategies at an early age so that their children have a choice of what institution they can go to. Maybe more importantly, it's protecting an income or an estate or maybe even a family legacy, a business. One more example of protecting one's blind side is, I think a lot of us, sometimes we pay too much in taxes. And so we help our clients devise strategies where they can reduce their taxes by making contributions to their retirement accounts, their 401ks, their IRAs, 529s for their children, things like that a lot of people don't know that we get deductions for from North Carolina or from the federal government.
Why is it vital for our community to get educated on things like this? Because, we get, just like you said, once we get up in age, then we run into this financial problem. So why is it so vital that they get educated on these type of issues?
That's a great question, and the answer lies in what we're seeing right now with the governments both here and abroad. We have leveraged ourselves up too much. I think that sometimes we are told that we should buy the nicest car or live in the biggest house or wear the nicest clothes, when in fact we're putting a burden on the government system, and Social Security might not be what it is in the past or today, in the future, if we don't start thinking about providing for ourselves. And so putting away at an early age, even in small increments, I think will help us achieve financial freedom and the goals that we have set for ourselves, to make sure, again, that child has a choice of what institution they get their education from, thereby impacting their financial picture in the future. And same thing with retirement. If we're just going to rely on Social Security, then we're putting that burden on everyone around us.
I know we're running to the economy is really hurting a lot of the family members in our community. How do they kind of like get started? I mean, I guess it all starts in the mind. How do you get